Hello and welcome to UpperPen. My name is Dakota, and today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite topics, cryptids. First, though, if you enjoy this interview, consider subscribing to see more like it. I post an interview every week with someone in the book world. Next week's guest is Robert Jackson Bennett, author of A Trade of Blood. And today I am chatting with Grace Viall about her debut novel, Mostly Human Resources, which releases August 4th in the United States. Thank you so much for being here, Grace.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I assume you like cryptids just like me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you give a little elevator pitch about this very cryptid heavy book?
Yeah, of course. So it's set in our world, but the cryptids like jackalopes and Bigfoot are all real. And our main character, Alexis, works in human resources for a company that hunts monsters in the everyday. And she partners up with her least favorite coworker, Nick, who's head of research, to go find one of her missing monster hunters in the Appalachian Mountains before her boss finds out.
So there's a lot going on, though. This is not,
So
yeah.
much going on.
One of my favorite things before we kind of get to the meat of the story is when we know that cryptids are real in this world.
Mhm.
And two, there's an entire corporation called Entity that deals with them. Um,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about Entity.
So Entity is very based off of my own corporate job experience. I like to joke this book is like my love letter to Appalachia folklore and my hate mail to corporate desk jobs. So it's very much based off of like retail corporate, ironically enough, because that's where my HR experience was. But they are like a step above exterminators. Like they get called in when there's sightings of a jackalope or a haunted house, and they send in what they call wardens, which are the monster hunters, to go investigate. And our poor HR team is tasked with managing these wardens across the United States and making sure that they do their job without having any bodily harm in the process.
Our main character, Alexis, is our HR employee, but she seems like she does more than HR. She seems like she's the scheduler and the person who's telling you where to go, almost like she's a supervisor as well.
Oh, yeah. So it's terribly based off of my own HR experience where I learned very quickly my job was not just HR, it was just about anything. So while you go into it sort of expecting a lot of that paperwork, she does have a very supervisory role. Like she does this scheduling for her wardens, she helps put them through their training and their online how to videos. So she does have a very broad reaching job which I think kind of gives the reader an interesting look into the behind the scenes of Monster Hunters rather than being in the passenger seat of the car.
So her counterpoint to the book, Nick, also has a very interesting job. He's a researcher and also not very helpful sometimes.
He likes to think he is, but no. His job is head of the research and cataloging department. So they basically file away all of the cases the entity deals with while also collaborating with other offices across the country and eventually globally to make sure that they have all the same information on the monsters that they're dealing with.
And it sounds like Entity is mostly an American-based version of these companies, and then there's other ones abroad. Does that sound right?
So I originally had Entity being one of the only monster hunting companies, but the more I dug into it, the more I realized like American folklore is very young compared to a lot of other like European folklore. So I think while Entity's the number one company in America, I do think they're probably one of the newer ones when it comes to the global monster hunting scene.
The story starts with Alexis having a warden who kind of goes rogue and at one point asks her permission to go to a town that's very potentially dangerous and then talks to Nick and then is just like YOLO. Um, which
Essentially,
seems
yes.
like such a underling job person thing to do.
Yeah. Bless him. Poor Elliot. He comes from California and he was originally working in, I believe, the New Mexico entity office, which is 99% alien sightings. So he is very out of his depth, but very enthusiastic. And unfortunately, that does tend to send him a little AWOL sometimes.
I think one of the things that struck me the most is you still keep these cryptid stories very regional. So you do have those alien
Yes.
out in like Roswell, California, but then Appalachia is a completely different beast.
Yeah, I really wanted to stay true to the way folklore has developed in America now, with how the alien sightings do tend to be very localized to the New Mexico and the Southwest, and then the jackalopes tend to be more East Coast. So I did want to kind of give that it's that's kind of how entities divided, is not just the states, but then also where these things tend to cluster.
And the brief description at the kind of beginning is that these beings are real, and they might be evolutionary offshoots of real animals or creatures, which I thought
Mm-hmm.
was hilarious. Like, because like a lot of them do take on very normal animal appearances at first.
Yeah, I mean, you've got like jackalopes, which are basically just hares with antlers. So I could totally see that being a really weird evolution of a really big rabbit. But then you've got other ones like black dogs, which it's very debatable whether or not those are actually tangible animals. So it's still very up in the air on whether or not entities theories are true, on whether or not they have developed biologically or if they've just sort of come out of nowhere.
It's it's interesting because we in this book, mostly human resources, you're focused on older types of cryptids from the United States, but there's also like Mothman, which is a relatively new phenomenon, or like Slender
Yes.
Man. Would they kind of exist in this world in the same way?
So I like to think they do. I think a lot of folklore is told by word of mouth, so it's hard to kind of pinpoint when exactly things originate. So I like to think that these monsters have been around a lot longer than we give them credit for. It just depends on when like the media takes on and when people finally start saying, okay, maybe there is a giant Mothman. We listen. So, it just I like to think it depends on when people stop calling crazy and when they start thinking, okay, maybe these things are real.
Well, yeah. I think there's a lot of miss sightings too. Like we think we see something and it's something else. So like I could see these creatures being misidentified repeatedly for years and then maybe classified differently.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like especially with things like ghosts, it's so hard to prove whether or not they're real. And so that's part of what makes entities so interesting to like work on in the book, is that you have how many cases are probably not true, which makes wardens a little lackadaisical sometimes. Like there's in the opener, I think there's a warden Hank who talks about the 4 millionth Bigfoot case he's got in Kentucky, because how many times have people seen just a strange shape in the woods and called Bigfoot?
He really wants to go investigate the black dogs, right? Or
The banshees.
the banshees, that's what
That's
it
his
is.
white
Yeah.
whale.
This character is like a throwaway character at the beginning. Like we get like a scene with him, but I remember him now.
He is inspired by um every coworker you have who's like weirdly passionate about really specific things, and they can go on and on and on about it, and sometimes you just kind of have to walk away to get them to stop. I love and hate him at the same time.
I feel Alexis's pain, but I also enjoy his banter or his like desire to do something different and more exciting.
Yeah.
The two main characters, Alexis and Nick, they're very I would say they're very office-oriented people.
Mm-hmm.
So you do them a great disservice when you just throw them into the field. Grace or Alexis in particular,
I know, poor thing. She would rather spend every day behind her desk if she could.
she in particular is very she really doesn't want to be out in the field, it feels like, or maybe she does, but she doesn't know how. Does that make sense?
It does. I think it's a conflict I gave her, where she wants so badly to live up to her father's legacy as this incredible monster hunter, but I think from a very young age she knew she was just not built for that kind of thing. Like there are some of us, especially me, it came from a part of myself where when I was reading fantasy books when I was younger of like dragon riders and magicians and all this stuff, I was like, could not be me. Like, could not be me. I am such a homebody. I like my comfy couch and my books. And so I feel like Alexis is the me who was like, it would be so cool to be a Winchester and so dangerous. So she does. She has this conflict of wanting to be who her father was so badly, but knowing it is just, it's not who she is.
It seems like at the beginning of the book, she kind of has this desire to eventually maybe do similar things that he did. Like, I don't know that she wants to be a warden specifically, but she wants that kind of excitement, maybe. Um, and that seems to completely drop off once she's actually in the field.
When she's faced with the reality of what monster hunting is, I do think that she kind of reevaluates a few things. She did become HR to kind of watch over wardens with this idea of if I can't be one, then I'll at least watch over the kind of people my dad was. And I think when faced with the dangers that wardens face quite often, she realized how much she does not belong in that job.
Um, the story is rooted in very deep Appalachia. Are these places like real places, or are they just kind of like vibes?
It's a bit of both. So I grew up in Tennessee, which is kind of the foothills of Appalachia. It's where the mountains start trailing off. So I grew up in those woods quite often, but it wasn't quite as entrenched as some of these other states tend to be. But I started doing community outreach in West Virginia about 10 years ago every summer. And going to the heart of Appalachia was a completely different world. And a lot of the places in the book are inspired really heavily by places that exist. Mercy Hill, where she goes to try and track down Elliot, is a completely fictional town, but it's very rooted in like Bluefield and Panther and these places in lower West Virginia where civilization is not cut off, but it's pocketed in these mountains and hollers, and um, it's a very different world it feels like sometimes when you go, and it's an incredible place, but you can standing in the woods there feel why people would think there's magic and monsters in the mountains.
It, I mean, it is very deeply rooted there. This kind of like the land is very magic or mystic, maybe, or like
Mm-hmm.
special. So yeah, I could see people absolutely being like this.
Yeah, I feel like people have such an interesting connection to the land there because I got to meet a lot of coal miners in the towns that I worked in, and the respect they have for the mountains is incredible. And I feel like it kind of breeds this um, like well-earned fear of the mountains, but in a respectful way of like you understand what the mountains are capable of. And that was kind of the feeling I really wanted to tap into when spinning these like magical, more fantasy tales, was that a lot of it comes from the mountains themselves.
When you were doing outreach there, did you ever encounter people who wanted to talk about the cryptids that were supposedly in those areas?
So not too many of the cryptids, but there were definitely ghost stories. Those
Hmm.
are really common. So I really enjoyed getting to hear some of those from locals. The cryptids themselves aren't quite as common. I mean, you'll have like one or two people who know what they are, but not too many sightings as much as a lot of books would imply. But you know, the ghost stories themselves are 100% very prevalent up there.
You actually give us a ghost or a haunt in this book, and he is terrifying and adorable at the same time because he's a little boy, and I don't want to spoil stuff, but like he is a interesting haunt.
I love him so much. I wanted so badly to show almost the good side of ghosts, like Casper. Like I wanted to show that haints aren't always
Oh, Haints, that's what it
sinister,
is.
but kind of ended up being a little sinister. But yes, no, he was very fun to introduce into the story.
I think you do really well with not making these cryptids evil, right? Or just bad. It's like a how are you looking at it and why are you looking at it kind of,
Hmm.
which is difficult.
It is really hard. I think it's very easy to lean into like monsters are evil, and especially with like scary stories for kids of don't go in the woods. It's always because the monster will eat you. And so it is very easy to lean into that. But the more I was digging into the stories, the more I was like, they're just like funky animals. So I felt kind of bad trying to make them inherently evil one way or the other. When in actuality, I mean, half the time they're just hanging out in the woods and somebody stumbles on them and that's why they get territorial mean.
Especially when they originated as humans in the way that like Haints do, because they are tragic in a lot of ways, so they're relatable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in the South, like especially in the Carolinas, there's the trend of painting haint blue on your porch to keep the ghosts away. And in Tennessee, you can hang blue bottles to keep the haints from coming into your house. And a lot of those are just preventative. It's like you don't want them inside. You don't want to get rid of them. You don't want them inside. So I do think they're lingerings of the past that you respect, but you also don't want to encourage any shenanigans from them.
So it feels like Nick knows these little tips and tricks and things, even though he's not from anywhere near Appalachia, but Alexis is, and she doesn't always
Mm.
know these things, which is interesting to me. Like she put them aside, maybe?
Yeah, I think she idolized her dad and the idea of being a monster hunter, but because she knew she wasn't ever really going to pursue that job, she didn't really see the point in learning all of the monsters, and she was more into the hunters side of things, much to
Mm.
her unfortunate detriment. But I do think that she forgets, like being behind the desk is a bit of a separation, and she forgets that the monsters they face are very real. And while all of those tips and tricks and things that Nick knows, she doesn't really see the practicality of her knowing. I think she learns to value them very quickly.
And maybe Nick eventually she'll value him too.
Eventually.
He's got such a cool job, in my opinion, because he gets to sit and research, but he has access, which is really limited in this world, it seems, to
Mm-hmm.
actual firsthand sources or maybe extra resources. Does that sound right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He's like, if I was had a job in the monster hunting world, his is the job I would want. He gets to read all the cool stories. He gets to read all of the interviews and figure out what's real and what's not. He gets to update all the monster files, and he does. He has this almost unlimited access to everything cryptid and monster related that Entity has to offer, which is a really incredible job that I think he sometimes does take for granted.
Oh, yeah, I think he mostly takes it for granted at the beginning.
Yeah. Yes.
At the very beginning, you introduced this idea that Alexis is having nightmares that are really terrifying, and she thinks that they are caused by some kind of creature, or like a ghost maybe or something.
Mhm.
But she does not have access to research like Nick does, so she can't actually look it up. Um,
Right.
how would she go about even finding things in that world then?
So it's definitely not easy. And the lack of access is very intentional. Entity keeps the practical application of the knowledge and the actual storage of the knowledge very separate. So that's kind of why she has to do some under the table dealings to try and get some information that she can. Because aside from, Googling and reading books, she doesn't really have a whole lot of access to all of that information. But I think the severity of her nightmares and how suddenly they appeared in her life, and I think there's just this unsettling feeling of something is not normal that leads her to really believe that it's got to be something supernatural.
I want to say the first one that we see in the book is she's walked into her bathroom and there's a message in blood or something that said, Elliot's dead and you're next or something.
Something deeply horrifying, yes.
So it's a lovely introduction to her screaming terrors.
Yeah, kick it right off, straight out of a horror film. Yeah.
I was trying most of the beginning to figure out what it could be. Like, what could cause these? Like the witch that sits on your chest, maybe. I don't remember
Mm.
what she's called, but I don't think she's an American idea.
I mm, I think we have an American equivalent to it, but I know that there's Asian folklore that has to do with I think it's a type of demon, and I could be wrong. I'm still branching out into other cultures for their folklore too, but I believe that there's Asian folklore that has to do with the crouching on the chest, and there's a surprising number of folklore stories that deal with nightmares, either as a symptom or like a method of I don't know, like eating dreams and things. It's really interesting, very disturbing, but really interesting.
It's kind of like that feeding off terror idea, I think is what most of them
Yes.
boil down to.
For the most part, yeah, which is a really interesting common thread through a lot of folklore is things feeding off of fear, which they're usually terrifying to then cause the fear. Um, but yeah, I wanted to kind of create the same feeling for the reader that Alexis has of this could be anything and to really get the gears rolling for what could be causing the nightmares.
It literally could be anything because like there are so many cryptids that I know surface level amount. So I feel like I know her level of knowledge.
Right. And that was really that's not how I started off intending it, but then as I was writing the book, I really wanted it to feel like the reader had the same level of knowledge as Alexis and for them to really feel like they could be in her seat and her shoes for the story. And if any of us were transported into this monster world, we would probably be in about the same boat.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Only I'd cower, probably. I wouldn't leave a city
Yeah,
or
I think I would have told on my boss really fast, like I
oh yeah.
lost somebody.
Yeah, I'd be like somebody else can go in and do it, which
Yeah,
brings
can we
up
call backup?
you have another job in this book that I don't fully understand yet because it's only
Mm,
kind of mentioned. I've not seen it in
yes,
action. And they
teased it a little.
are they the Reapers? Is that what they're called?
Yes, the Reapers. They're the real monster hunters. As much as wardens are investigators, the Reapers are the executioners.
Which is horrifying because usually executioners or like people hunting things don't care about collateral damage. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, which is the Reapers are very much a last resort for a lot of people at Entity. They're kind of that dark stain in the philanthropic approach that Entity tries to take in things, but also a bit of an unnecessary evil because there are such dangerous cryptids out there that for the safety of the public should probably be removed.
and it sounds like the public doesn't know very much or isn't really let in on a lot of the cryptid goings abouts, maybe.
Yeah, I would say they're like aware only in as much as they've experienced. I don't think Entity advertises themselves very much, but it's sort of an if you encounter monsters, Entity will find you type of thing. Um, but I would say that the awareness is growing, but not quite widespread yet.
Okay. It feels like there's so much world building that isn't yet in the book, because it feels like a bigger story than just this one book.
Yes, yeah, I definitely feel like I can fully flesh out the trilogy and that we're going to keep world building as we go. I wanted to very gently ease the readers into Entity's world and kind of expand as we go. So we start off with those HR and research people, and then kind of as the story goes, we'll bring in the other departments and the other jobs and kind of see how wide reaching it can be.
It feels wide reaching, but there's also the regional. So like um she's only dealing with one small sector of the I think it's Tennessee and West Virginia area. Is that what it is?
Yes. She has four districts or four quadrants in her district. And they mostly cover the Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia area.
Oh, I forgot she had Kentucky too.
Where all the
Um,
big fits are.
yeah. And then you hear about other HR people or wardens from other areas that are doing very similar work. And so I feel like the story has so much room to move.
It really does. Like when you think about how many offices and monsters and states and everything there are, like the folklore is never ending. So you really have the potential to just expand anywhere.
Yeah.
I like to think that
Um,
there's international offices with their own problems and chaos.
oh, I want to see the kaiju office in Japan.
Yes, you and me both.
I, I want to see it from a distance. I don't want to be up close.
Yeah, I don't want to work there, but I want to see it.
And I think that's kind of what makes this book kind of magical is it is very much about these two people going off on a quest to save someone or to find someone's dead body. But it is a bigger idea of there's something happening in the world, and we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, it's that lingering feeling of more,
Yeah.
which I think the more Alexis steps out from behind her desk, the more she realizes how little she's explored in that world.
It's funny because when she first gets to I guess the hotel where she's supposed to meet Elliot, um, she's very prepared for the hotel. But then when she
Yes,
finds he's missing, she didn't bring any of the things that she needed to go
at
look for
all.
him.
Just it was not even on her list of possibilities. I don't think she's ever lost a warden before, and so
Yeah.
she just no part of her thought that was going to happen at all.
And to be fair, I don't think she's making particularly sound judgments because she hasn't been sleeping in however long.
Yes. Yeah, the sleep deprivation doesn't help. And then she kind of has this rolling pressure of having to make these snap decisions one after the other. And I think the more stress she gets, the less she thinks things through
And I don't think Nick being there particularly helps at the beginning because he just
at all.
antagonizes her.
He is nothing but a problem in the beginning.
So this is kind of a slow burn romance. I want to say that is on the dust jacket cover description thing.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes, yes, it is. It's very slow, but I wanted it to develop naturally. And I feel like two people who hate working together, getting trapped in the woods together, doesn't necessarily breed romance very well. Not the healthy kind. So it's going to be kind of slow as they try to decide are all of these like insane emotions we experienced real and how do we feel about them and how does that work in our workspace these workplace romances are fun but they're rarely practical.
You actually have these sections from their, uh, is it the handbooks from the different
Yes,
departments? And one of them
yeah,
is
the
like,
employee handbooks.
you can't be dating across whatever.
I think there was like interdepartment dating
Yeah.
or something about like dating your superior or something whatever will prevent them from immediately dating. Yes. They've got to earn it.
Well, yeah. But I really do feel like their banter slowly changes from less angry at one another or always kind of annoyed to see them to something, warmer.
Right. I think they have this natural antagonism where they just know how to get under each other's skin so easily. And I think when you take them out of the workplace environment, they kind of run out of things to be mad about. And so it kind of allows them to transition into this maybe we're doing it for fun. Maybe this is our weird way of flirting. Do I kind of enjoy this?
I definitely do this to my husband all the time. If he's sitting there peacefully, I will go bug him. I will just annoy him.
Pushing buttons is a love language, and I will stand by that.
And I feel like at certain points it's necessary in the book because there's so much horror elements that
Mm-hmm.
are going on. I wouldn't say this is a horror book, but like there are terrifying things happening
Mm-hmm.
that you need that levity.
Yeah, I was really striving for an odd genre blend with this one. Like I really sort of threw the genre rule books out the window and I really just wanted to have fun with it. But I feel like the heavier it got in the monsters and the scary, I really wanted to add that levity and kind of remember we're not in a horror and that we're still trying to fall in love along the way maybe. And I feel like the humor really was an easy way to balance the scarier aspects of things.
The title is the funniest thing I'd seen in a while, and I keep saying it to people just to be able to say the title.
I love that. The whole thing started as a joke and then
Oh,
nobody changed it. And I just kept waiting for somebody to be like, okay, but we need an official title. And then no one did. And so now it's the title. Um, but it was really kind of a joke because I was getting ready to query for an agent and I had a title, but it was too sci-fi sounding. And so I just threw out mostly human resources and it fit the vibe of the book really well because it's just this kind of like snarky, humorous title. And it, yeah, never left.
what was the first sci-fi-y title?
It was the Lazarus Bargain.
Ooh, okay, so I get that. I can see where that was
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
So it was fun, but it kind of leaned a little heavier sci-fi fantasy. So I had to add a little humor to it.
A little darker too, I think. Lazarus is a
Yes. Yeah, I think if it had been the latter half of the book tends to be in reviews a bit heavier and darker. Like that's when we really start getting into things and those horror elements. So I think if the entire book had had that energy, then it could have been the Lazarus Bargain. But because we started in an office building. Like you can't have the Lazarus Bargain in an office building. It didn't. There was a disconnect.
It's not even just that it's an office building. She's literally complaining on page one that there are too many phone calls coming in and she cannot get her emails sorted.
Yes, it is the heart of corporate headaches.
And to me, that really kind of sets the stage, maybe having mostly human resources instead of the Lazarus
Mhm.
um, deal or whatever. I can't remember what it is now.
Bargain, yeah.
Bargain. Um, because it does kind of like give us this vibe that everything is corporately controlled. And so I feel like
Mhm.
there's this worse thing coming because everything is so corporate.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I think the kind of tongue in cheek mostly kind of gives the reader this idea of like, well, how is it not though? Like how do we stray from human resources? And boy, do we stray from human resources.
Goodness, do we ever? But you also have a lot of really fun, weird side characters. Um, and some of them are just kind of throwaway, and then some of them linger.
Mhm.
But it's got to be so challenging to keep, like, there's so many people in this
Mhm.
book. So, like, how do you keep the story focused?
So I start most scenes with just Alexis or just Nick or just the two of them because they're the heart of the story. And then I kind of see what perspectives are needed. So if it doesn't make sense for Alexis to know something, I have to bring in Nick or vice versa. And then kind of just seeing who's necessary, but always making sure that at the heart of the conversation and at the center stage, like if you have a camera and you're following the characters, making sure the camera is always over their shoulder
Mhm.
um, to kind of make sure the story stays on them. But I love my side characters, and I feel like that's really what brings a world to life is the people around them that they meet. And as much as I would love to bring all of them back all the time, you kind of have to decide where their feet are planted. Like it wouldn't make sense for somebody who works at the hotel to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
So kind of remembering where they're supposed to be and what makes sense for the story, and then always just staying with the main two.
They feel like when Southern people in particular tell very mundane stories, and there's always 10 tangents, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I drew a lot of inspiration from my grandfather's storytelling, which tends to be very rambling. Like about an hour in, you kind of forget where the story started and how we got to where we are. And I do feel like a lot of the people you meet along the way while they're telling the story is such a crucial part of Southern storytelling.
It's funny too because a few people are trying to tell them a very particular story. There's at least two people. And
Mhm.
Nick hears it first and he kind of brushes it off like, well, this is stupid. I've never heard it anywhere else. So like, how could it be anything? And then when she hears it, it's like it didn't even register that someone told her something.
It's their own two types of tunnel vision. I
Yeah.
think Alexis is so set on what she's doing that she tends to get blinders on, and so she doesn't really hear anything else because she's like, this problem first, we'll focus on everything else later. And I think Nick has his confidence in his own knowledge that if Nick doesn't know, then it can't be a thing because he would have at least heard of it once and not from some random person in the middle of nowhere. So he has his trusted sources of information in his own brain. And if it didn't come from either one of those, he tends to be a little too dismissive.
It just makes for funny moments when like clearly important information is trying to be conveyed.
Yes, and I enjoy giving the reader information that then Nick and Alexis probably also need, but just cannot be bothered to hear.
I'm sure it's filed in Nick's brain, but I don't think Alexis heard it at all because she's focused on Elliot.
Absolutely, yeah. No, she's fully focused on saving her job and saving her warden. And I think Nick probably put a post-it in his brain to circle back to that later, just out of his own academic curiosity, but because it wasn't relevant to what he was doing, yeah, they'll I'll come back to it eventually.
So you said this is going to be a trilogy. Does
Yes,
the second, I assume you're working on the second one or possibly it's in
I
edits.
am. Yes, so we're a good way into developmental edits right
Oh,
now.
okay.
Clearly, my brain is mush. But yes, book two is well underway.
Does it kind of, as of now, where you're
Mhm.
still doing edits, so it could change, does it kind of pick up where we leave off at the end?
Yes, so it picks up a few days after book one ends. So we pick up the story just about where we left off, kind of the fallout of everything from book one, and then like next steps, like where we go from there to move forward.
Yeah. And I don't want to talk about the ending because there's a lot that goes on, but
So much.
is the tone similar where it's like there's these cheeky tongue-in-cheek moments, but it's also, it's got a darkness to it.
I would say so because I think they're Alexis and Nick are trying to recover from a lot of things and trying to get back to normal life. And as much as they want to, there are still some lingering problems and mysteries. And so we have that back in the office familiar setting banter, but also those looming secrets and mysteries that still need some unraveling.
If you're in edits right now for book two, does that mean that you're thinking ahead to book three as well? Because someone else is looking at those.
I am, yes. As soon as I finished the first draft of book two, I immediately sat down and said, where does this thing go? Where are we ending? I'm very much a discovery writer where I just draft and let the story tell itself. So I don't really outline, but I do want to figure out what tone we're going for with the
Mhm.
ending and kind of where I see two office workers trying to save the day, how I see that ending. So there's some ideas being thrown around. I think we'll see a really interesting development for them along the way, and I think it'll be the kind of ending that makes sense for two office workers trying to battle monsters and ancient gods.
And like nobody's taking this as gospel or anything because it is so far out. So,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and I have already made so many changes to book two that I can't promise anything.
Um, do you know when the like deadline is that they are aiming to publish? Like, is it next year or is it the year after?
So we are hoping to have one book out a year. So it'll be
Okay.
this first one coming out in August, and then we're hoping for a release of book two the following year, and then book three the year after that. We're you probably going to aim for that end of summer, beginning of fall, just because that's the spooky season. But yeah, no set date yet.
Okay. Not that it really matters this far out because the book isn't even out yet.
I don't know where it was there.
Um, I do think it's gonna do really well though, because it does have all of the like best elements of, like a slow burn romance, but also many, many scary, adventurous moments.
Thank you. It is entirely self-indulgent. It is the kind of romance I love to read and the kind of monsters I was obsessed with. And yeah, it's everything I love in a fantasy book.
I want to say most of the books that I've absolutely loved, the author has said something very similar. Like these are the things that they really wanted to see in a book and they just, it wasn't there anywhere. So they
Mm-hmm.
had to write it.
Yeah, I wrote it for myself entirely when I started. I had no plans of publishing it, and it was just to cope with my desk job. It was just the thing I wrote in the break room. And then I finished it, and I turned to my writing group, and I was like, what do I do now? And so I got pushed into the world of agenting, and it snowballed to here. So it was entirely for me, but I'm thrilled to get to share it with everyone else.
When did you start working on mostly human resources?
I think it was 2023, late 2022. I was still in the full swing of that like second phase of the pandemic, and I was working in HR and losing my mind, and was like, at least I was watching Supernatural on my lunch break, and I thought at least my employees don't have to hunt monsters. And
Well,
here we are.
no, they didn't.
No, no.
Um, do you know if there's a pre-order campaign going for it?
Yes. So there's a pre-order campaign with Park Books in Maryland. That's my local indie bookstore. So they're doing a campaign for signed and or personalized books, and I'm gonna have some fun swag to go with it. I think there's like an art print and a bookmark and that kind of stuff.
I love that more and more this is a thing that there's like art prints or there's bookmarks or I just love it.
I do too. I'm such a little like goodies collector. Like I love my bookmarks and my trinkets. And when I go to Renaissance fairs, I'm absolutely the trinket trader. Like I love that. The more I come away with, the better. So I was super excited to get on Vistaprint and see what things I could come up with.
So does that mean that you're paying for those things then?
For the most part, yes. So I took the initiative for a lot of my pre-order stuff. So any like bookmarks and stickers and all of that stuff, I've commissioned the artist and printed
Mhm.
myself. And that's kind of my way of giving back to readers for supporting me in my book. So,
Oh, that's so sweet.
well, I mean, I wouldn't be here without them. And I've been a reader for so long, and I have such an appreciation for the incredible community that is the book community. I mean, especially with the boom of social media, like they're an incredible group of people. And I've met some really amazing readers in my author journey. So it's just an easy way for me to, I mean, obviously market my book, but also to give back a little bit.
And I think it makes it more accessible for people instead of like a special edition, which usually are quite pricey.
I agree. I mean, as much as I love pretty sprayed edges in a special edition, that's also really out of the author's control of whether or not they get one of those. And I think the art prints and the bookmarks and stickers are definitely a much easier um, exclusive thing that you can do.
I would be incredibly surprised if this did not at least get an offer for special editions.
There might be
Yeah,
something in the works.
yeah, yeah.
I sit on a mountain of secrets.
It just is, it is that type of book where I think it is going to be very popular with, the type of people who collect special editions.
Thank you. I think that yes, I think there's a Venn diagram of people who like cryptids and people who collected rocks as children, and I think it's almost a circle.
I might still have the rocks that I collected.
I have a pencil box of rocks that I collected on the playground as a kid. Yeah.
I used to leave them in my husband's car when we were first dating, and he would get so
Like
annoyed because they rattle.
it's like a penguin.
Here's a shiny
I
I
love that.
found.
This means I love you. I love that.
So we have the pre-order campaign, but are there like is there anywhere that folks can follow you so that they know what you're doing and what's coming next?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm super active on Instagram. I'm on there almost every day. And then I have a Twitter, but I strayed and I have forgotten about it. It's fallen to the wayside and collected dust. But I am on there sometimes. I do get notifications. I just don't open
Mhm.
it very much. And then I have threads, but that is for my own unhinged inner thoughts. So I would recommend following me on Instagram.
Have
But I have all of
you?
that linked in my link tree on Instagram.
Oh, okay. You don't have a website though, right? It's just the
I
socials.
do. I do,
Oh,
yes. I forget I have it, but I do have a website. It's graceviall.com.
okay. Have you spent any time on Reddit with, because like Reddit is a cryptid community.
I know, and you would think I would be on there a lot more than I am. I like to read the
Yeah,
Reddit
yeah.
articles and posts, but I keep forgetting to make an account, and they don't let you post when you make a new account because you're probably a bot. And I keep forgetting, and so I'm like in Reddit jail all the time. But I do lurk. I like to read what's on there, and I think the Reddit community is fantastic.
I find it very overwhelming, but it's also really fun sometimes to just follow random threads.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I feel like half the time the comments are really where the gold is at. Like
Oh,
that's where some of the best stories are.
it's like the new form of wiki walking, if you've ever heard that, when you
Yes, that's
follow the
exactly it.
Wikipedia links.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. That's been way too much time. Like you scroll and you click and you scroll and you click and 4 hours go by.
Oh, goodness. Anyway, sorry, back to um so you have these two books that you know you're going to write. I assume there's plans for books in the future, but they're way far off.
Yes. So I have a few floating around. They're all in a file on my computer. This is do not touch because I'm on contract. But I have a few fantasy, a few horror, a few things kind of floating around. I do look forward to seeing what projects are out there, but for right now, I'm very happy to spend some more time with Nick and Alexis and try and finish out their story.
Awesome. I can't wait for book two, even though book one still isn't out yet.
The wait is terrible.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a really fun chat.
Um, Mostly Human Resources is out August 4th in the US and August 6th in the UK. I really, really love this book and cryptids in general. So if everybody could go pre-order a copy or reserve it at your local library, that way the publisher knows that we love it. Yeah, that'd be great.
It would mean so much. Oh, there we go.
And if you've enjoyed this conversation, consider leaving a comment and telling me what you liked about it or what books or authors you'd like to hear from next. And I hope everybody has a lovely, lovely day. Bye.